it seems like every day we hear about something going wrong in the auto industry, but how about something gone right for a change? In Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, my favorite Home Alone, R.I.P., Catherine O'Hare is talking to this cop, and she's running around New York City. She's like, Kevin, where are you? You know, she's looking for them, and she runs up across this cop car, and they roll down the window, and she puts her hands there, and she says, hey, can you help me find my son? Here's the picture of him. And he says, listen, lady, New York's a big city. You're never gonna find them looking for it like that. They have this conversation. She finds out he has kids, and she asks, if you were in my situation, I know you have kids, what would you be doing? And he said, well, about the same thing you would be doing. And that's kind of how I feel about Nissan. Nissan's making a lot of moves in the industry, which I don't think are great, like rebranding Mitsubishis as Nissans. This is Nissan's all-new, not all-new, but technically for Nissan all-new, it's like a used car, Nissan Rogue plug-in hybrid, which is actually just a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, rebadged as a Nissan. Now, from the outside, does this seem like a good move? Not really, but at the same time, if we were CEOs of those companies and we had cars from both Honda and Mitsubishi to take from, I know damn well we would 100% be taking advantage of that. But it seems that Nissan has finally got a strategy to get them out of this rut. And it's a strategy, even better than just having a strategy, it's a strategy that I like. Nissan's strategy is saying, oh, well, the average new price for a new car is $50,000. I'm just going to put a little disclaimer here and talk about this really quickly. A lot of people are saying that, $30,000 and under, which is what I'll talk to in a minute, is a lot of money. And I'm saying that it is, but you want to know what? When I look at inflation and I look at the job numbers and everything, I will admit that nowadays, unfortunately, $30,000 is a reasonable price for a new car. Am I saying that they're not more expensive than 90s cars? Of course they are, but they're less expensive than just looking, sure, the money has gone up, but everything has gone up. Wages have stagnated, I agree with that, but then again, eggs and everything, if they get a pass, so do cars. So you want to know what? Nissan's new strategy is making cars under $30,000, and you want to know what? This is my favorite thing about this channel, and why I think that this channel is special compared to others, because we can actually have honest conversations. The Kicks Play is a car that they've introduced, which is not all new, but it's a new car, like the Kicks Play is a new title. And the reason why is because it's just the Nissan Kicks, but from 2 years ago, before they updated it to have 5 lug nuts. Just 4 lug nuts, base car, $21,000, cheapest car that Nissan is going to be making once they drop the Versa. Now, a lot of car reviewers would say, oh, I hate it. It's terrible, it's old, it's literally an old car. Why would they bring this back? This brings down the lineup. I think it's a wonderful, fantastic idea, and I love it. I think the Kicks Play is an excellent vehicle. First of all, it's mechanically sound enough to get the average teenager through high school, and that's all that really matters for brand loyalty. And when the Versa is gone, the Kicks Play, which is an old car that Nissan hasn't made for about 2 years at this point, they updated the Kicks to have 5 lug nuts instead of having 4. This is the old 2022 version, then the updated 2023 version, and then they updated it again in 2024. So this is 2 model years behind, technically, if you count facelifts as model years. So it is an older vehicle being sold as a new one, but I think that that's great. For the average teenager, it's going to be just a car that gets them from point A to point B. For the parents, it's going to seem fine. And all it is a Versa in a suit. They're getting rid of the Versa. They're bringing in the Kicks Play, and I think that that's fine. I'm not in love with the name. I think that it's a stupid name. It's a really stupid name, in fact. But Nissan's new idea is that they're going to make cars under $30,000. I think that of all the ways Nissan could have gone, they finally got it right. I'm so sick of car companies saying, we're going to go luxury, we're going to go EV. And even worse, Nissan would actually have a reason to go EV, because the Leaf is the most successful EV for the, I focus on average day consumer cars. Teslas have been successful money-wise, but is the average person going to consider Tesla? Probably, but they're probably going to look at a Leaf first. So the Leaf has probably been the biggest help towards EVs in terms of normalizing them. Dank Pods owns a Leaf, and he loves it. They're pretty good cars. They're great cars. There's an entire community behind them. A lot of people haven't been able to do that for EVs, or have a community that's hated, like Tesla, but that's for political reasons, which I'm not going to get into because I don't get paid enough for that, because I don't get paid anything. I think it's a great strategy, but moving on, I have always loved the Sentra, especially the last few years. I've noticed that a lot of people own the Corolla are fine, it's a lot of nuns and stuff. A lot of people who own the Civics, again, a lot of nuns, a lot of old people. That's fine, and they don't really have an opinion about it. But the Sentra, a lot of people like them, know some people that own Sentras. They say, hey, I like this car. It's just a cute little sedan. It takes me wherever I need to go. I really like this car. I think that that's really great for them. And Nissan finally, instead of doing something stupid like updating the god-awful Murano or the stupid Titan that I don't want to hear about anymore, they finally updated a damn car worth updating, and they updated the Sentra. And I can tell it's going to be a hit because Doug DeMuro has already made a video about it. That is rare. Doug, that's my job, okay? Listen here, bucko. You can't have everything, okay? You get the fast cars, I deal with the economy cars. Get out of here. You want to know what this feels like in the day after tomorrow? Like, we're all sitting in the library, we're burning the books because we're all freezing and there's water outside, and, like, I don't know, Thor shows up or something. Like, you don't know how much I've needed you. Nissan, the cheap car brand that can make a car out of a stick, a rubber band for the CVT because it has to have CVT. But other than that, they can make a car out of anything and sell it for dirt cheap. You don't know how much we need you in this current auto landscape. Thank God they've come back. They say that a hero can save us, and Nissan was not just going to stand here and wait. They're finally back. And the best part is, the Sentra isn't shit. I hate it when they do that. For all I know, Nissan could have taken the Sentra, turned it into, like, the biggest car on the planet. They could have made it the old Maxima, the big sedan. They could have done that. They could have had heated leather seats. It's all electric. They could have done something stupid, disgusting, something that's going to last for 2 years, 10,000-mile powertrain bullshit warranty, whatever with the Kia crap. They could have just been Kia 2 electric boogaloo. And that's the other part of this. They're giving Kia a run for their money. Because we had the issue with sedans. Oh, we're too good for sedans. The economy's too good for sedans. We don't need that. Blah, blah, blah. We're crawling out of that now. Now the Kia K4 and K5, they're selling. The Sentra is selling. The Versa is selling. You're talking about bringing the Versa back. I mean, you want to know, we've been sitting in neutral, rolling down this hill till this dumpster fire at the bottom for so long now. And finally, one company is waking up. And I'm not going to act like they're going to save the world. It's like, oh, the new Nissan Versa's out. That's crazy. In fact, if you look at the sales numbers, the Nissan Versa, I mean, come on, it's not going to really knock your socks off. But is it good to have a car company that finally understands that we need cheap cars more than anything else, and that they're willing to make them? Yeah, that's pretty good, because you realize if everyone's doing the same thing, then believe it or not, no one makes any money on that thing, and I think that's what Nissan's realizing. Also, just a quick mention, the trim levels are good. I'm looking at the features. They're good. A car is supposed to be built off the base model. The base model is the car that you get, and then anything higher than that is just some added luxury. That's different with luxury vehicles. Like a Lexus, the top version, that's the one that Lexus envisioned you getting. The lower ones are just them taking shit off, It's like when you get to the grocery line, you can't afford it, so they just start taking stuff out of the cart. That's what they're doing. Nissan, they started with an empty cart, and then they started putting stuff in. That's how I like it. That's how you should build trim levels on a cheap car. Now, moving on to another ostrich with their head buried in the sand. We've had some good news. This is like an Oreo. We got some good news, some bad news, then some good news. Well, it doesn't matter. The analogy does not get its own explanation. Let's move on. Oh, there's more of them? It's like every single time. It's like a horror movie where when you turn the lights off, it moves closer to you. You turn it back on, it's in the hallway. It's like, oh, there's the Toyota BZ4X and the Subaru Solterra. Turn it off, turn it back on. Ah! And then we have all of these now. I mean, I swear, there are so many of them. Now, if you're wondering why I just took a screenshot from the website of whatever the name was, that's because I genuinely could not remember the names. It's not because I'm trying to be lazy here. The only reason I can remember the name of the Lexus, which is the Lexus RZ, is because it's literally just the BZ, except it's RZ, which is stupid to carry around an EV naming scheme between Toyota and Lexus, because the entire idea is that they're two separate brands, which is stupid. There's a lot of them, and now we have to get into them. Yay, I love my job. No, I do, but let's get into it. The Solterra, the BZ, and the, what's it called? Oh yeah, the one that I didn't put the name of, and the RZ. These are just your standard Toyota EVs. They renamed the BZ4X to the BZ. It's a new generation. They updated the chassis. Yay! The Toyota CHR and Subaru Uncharted are the same, except the Uncharted only comes in front-wheel drive, which is weird. The Trail Seeker, it's its own thing. So technically the BZ and the BZ Woodland are the same car, but like Subaru was too lazy to actually knock off the Solterra, but in like a more fun off-roady way. So all they did was knock off Toyota's knockoff of the BZ to make their knockoff of the BZ Woodland. So imagine a BZ Woodland with a Subaru logo, and that's the Trail Seeker, which for some reason they called it an entirely different EV, even though it kind of is, even though it kind of isn't. So that's kind of your families here, the 6 families here. None of them are really great. I'll get into CHR and the Uncharted in a minute. But the rest of these, they're all kind of mashed potatoes. They're bland. I can't even remember their names. They're just meh. Alright, here's a chart of some of the sales numbers that I had Grok put together. I didn't care to verify them on this, but they seem pretty legit based off of what I know about Toyota and the EV market, considering I've been in automotive journalism, which is a very loose term, especially for me, for like a year now, or 2 years, or 3 years, or whatever. Probably 5 years. Also, so that you don't bore yourself to death while I talk about this, we have the 2 new colors for the 4Runner and the Tundra, even though they're both, like, not fantastic, great Toyota quality vehicles, which I'll get to when I eventually get to actually doing my job, just the usual stuff. They're fine. If you're wondering why I didn't put, like, range and torque and everything on here, it's because, who cares? If you are looking to purchase one of these, there's 1,000 buyer's guides that would be better than what I could ever offer you in this car news episode. And the sales, they're fine. The updated versions are selling a little bit more than the non-updated things. They're projected to sell more. It's fine. Not great sales. Not great expected sales, approximate sales compared to other Toyota models. They're fine. Not a whole lot going on. But there is 2 that I do happen to like out of all the others. And that's the CHR and the Trail Seeker. These 2 cars are almost $40,000 in price. I'll get the price up in the comparison in a minute. For some reason, the Subaru is front-wheel drive only, which is, like, not the whole Subaru thing. Now, I knocked this harder before about what I didn't realize, and I knew it, I just didn't think about it. I'm not, like, omniscient. I can't think of every single car knowledge thing that I know. They did sell the entire GR86. That was what Toyota called it. I don't even care what they called it. And that was 2-wheel drive. I sound like I don't care about cars in this thing. I do, and especially economy cars, but this just it's in EVs. Who's like, yay, EVs, I can't wait. Except for the Leaf. That thing's pretty neat automobile. By the way, the new Leaf is coming out, and the new Leaf is going to absolutely thrash these in every single way. So, for some reason, the Subaru is front-wheel drive only, which does not fit for Subaru's brand, but it is cheaper than the CHR. For the CHR, it's all-wheel drive, EV, which is weird, because no one really wants all-wheel drive in an EV. No one needs all-wheel drive in an EV. It's not like when you get a gas car, it's going to be gas, and it's probably going to have, 4 cylinders. There's a lot of constants. So, what you really want is that all-wheel drive. Just as something extra that you could add on to that. With EVs, the price versus the usefulness is not really there to me, and I don't think it will be to a lot of other buyers. Also, they just shat on the entire CHR. This thing is not going to sell. When I first thought that they were bringing the CHR over to the United States, I thought maybe they'll bring a gas version over, and that would actually sell. Because right now, the Corolla Cross is essentially the RAV4, and that's fine. That's kind of its job. The CHR is good. Okay, I have to mention that I like the implementation. I just don't like the cars. I think that this is where EVs should be. They should be cheap, they should be small, they should be for young people and people that live in the city. That's great. But this implementation, a Subaru, a Toyota, SUV-ified, nah. They're also too similar. Subaru. Come on. You're in the house. This is where you're gonna have your cake. Toyota has so many models, and you couldn't convince them to give you a decent Impreza or something, and you had to borrow this from them. I wouldn't even take it if they offered it to me. So yeah, they're fine. Let's get into the specs and stuff, because people actually might care about these, unlike the others, which are just milk toast, vanilla, French fried rice, whatever. Alright, well here we have some specs here, mainly just the horsepower, and they have the same warranty and the starting price. So we can see that the Subaru, which is front-wheel drive, and again, it's like Subaru, but very diluted to get young people to like the brand well enough to buy Subarus in the future. That's the entire point of both of these cars. Although Toyota already has enough Corollas where they're not solely relying upon this. Also, notice how, Subaru is technically using Lexus's hardware for the screen, the bits where it says the temperature knobs in the screen. They get away with that a little bit more than they would usually, because the Outback is also using that feat technology, but that's something Toyota borrowed from Lexus that Subaru is now borrowing from Toyota. So that's just an odd feature there. Nothing too crazy, the Toyota has more horsepower, because usually all-wheel drive with front-wheel drive, it took me a second to figure this out because I've had the flu and I'm doing terribly, but I'm feeling better day by day, and there's not much else you can say. See, it even rhymes. Normally I would say, wow, all-wheel drive, more horsepower? Yeah, it's just because it has dual motors. That's why. It's like if you put another engine in the back. So that makes sense. That's why hybrid cars have more horsepower when they have all-wheel drive too, because again, it's another motor. So yeah, now let's move off to some, the end section. Not the ending, but, just a last story to make you walk away feeling good about yourself, and not, oh, Toyota's terrible, they suck at everything, and Subaru's turning into Toyota. We don't want you thinking about that. We want you thinking about, yay, I love the auto industry. When it comes to rebrands, I and we on this channel, it's been over, I think, 2 years, officially a year since I started making videos, at least car videos, at least entirely, on this YouTube channel, and we have seen our fair share of horrible, terrible rebrands. First of all, we have the Kia one, and I'm not checking, the latest Kia one has been successful, although there was an issue. The day that it debuted with this, like, ooh, it's the new Kia, the day that debuted, the highest search, like the most popular search on Google, which is good, the most popular search on Google is a good thing, but it was for KN car, meaning that people didn't know it was Kia. But pretty soon people got over it, they realized that it was a Kia, that was fine. Then we had stupid people and dealerships putting on their Korean domestic logo on their cars for some reason. Apparently Lexus didn't like that. And Carlos Tavares and the entire Stellantis thing, they rebranded a lot of their cars. And all of this just feels bad. Now, Kia got away with changing every single one of their cars to look nothing like the cars that they had before because they made cars that people could afford. They made actually good cars for people. Jaguar was already, it's like, France before the French Revolution. They were kind of like the bourgeoisie. They were kind of higher up there. Jaguar wasn't going to be selling that many cars anyways. And then they alienate the buyers that they already have. Kia was essentially the rioting protesters. They can get away with a lot more than Jaguar could. Jaguar tried, and they got wiped off the face of the map, which they deserved. Not a single car was in that entire advertising. If you watch that ad, and it's not even from a political standpoint, for many people it is, and personally I can see aspects of it, I mean, it's hard not to, where it does get slightly political in terms of, identity politics and stuff like that. It was just a shit ad for a car company. For a car company, it was a shit ad. So yeah, we've seen our horrible mirage of KN car rebrands. But some car companies get it right. Instead of just bruising up the brand and leaving it to die, what they do is they put it in the sock, they swing it around, they take all the juice out, and then they have the concentrate, and they grow a new brand from that concentrate of the old brand, like a phoenix. They take what people loved from the old brand and essentially make a new brand out of it. And that's what we have here, and I'm just going to show you 2 examples of rebrands gone right. The second Ford came out with the Bronco Sport, they did it right. See, my family's a GM family, okay? We worked at GM, we sold it now, stock in GM, because, working there, you accumulate it. And it was good. Until they just got their head up their butts. They got their head up their ass. They couldn't, what are you doing? My dad would read, what's going on, the stock prices, just having his morning cup of coffee. He'd say, pull your head out, to the company, what are you doing? First of all American car companies got this hair in their nose. It's telling them, they've got Ratatouille under the hood, pulling the hairs in ways that they don't like. So they decided to cancel off all the small cars, which is what they were selling, like the Cruise and everything. Those were the real market sellers. There's a reason why GM spent entire 20 years trying to figure out how to build these small cars. It's because they actually sold. And so then GM had been working on this since the 90s. They had an entire partnership with Daewoo. They bought an entire other car company and Saturn and all of that just to make small cars, and they just kill them off. So they finally decided to do that. Ford, what was wrong with Ford? Ford was like, we're going to do that too because we're American and they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. They're incompetent. They're like little babies. Yeah, they don't know what they want to do. They're incompetent. At GM, they're so annoying. And so GM, they just suck now. The trucks are, some of them are fine. Most of them are not fine. Most of them are just horrible. And Ford was not doing great either. They had nothing until they came out with the Bronco Sport. What is a Ford now? A Ford is the Bronco Sport. Ford came out with the Bronco. Chevrolet came out with the Blazer, and the issue that they had is the people who actually wanted these cars are never actually going to be able to afford the cars that they wanted. So you need to come out with a Sport. For GM, they used the Trailblazer, and that was 23. That sold fine, but they didn't make it a brand. Ford did it right with the Bronco Sport. They made it seem more like a Bronco than the Bronco itself. They carried over as much from the Bronco as they could, and they made it cheap, reliable, and with powertrains that people actually looked for. And they gave it steelies and fun versions. And, people would buy a worse car if they can customize it more to their liking on, superficial stuff. If it had a worse engine and everything, they would accept that if they could customize it. Ford got that, GM did not. So they kept coming out with shit colors. Then they released the Maverick. That was a fantastic financial choice by Ford. First of all, it's a Bronco Sport, which is great because people love the Bronco Sport form factor. People love light, little, small trucks with a crew cab because that means it's useful. They love hybrids, and Ford leaned into America. Why does everyone hate being American all of a sudden? I'm like Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. Like, what did we ever do? Like, why does everyone hate everything? Okay, I get that that's like the entire point of the show is that he's the butt of the whatever. Why? Be American. That's fine. You were an American car company. They're all worried about the EVs and everything. It's like, why not just show the little grandmother or the mom who works 2 jobs, the American dream, what America is actually about. The people who work hard, you count the headlights on the highway. We have so much culture and history that we just throw away because we're too busy feeling sorry for ourselves. And Ford finally, they got in the small towns. They got the grandmothers in the ads. Oh, I like to use my Ford. They got Tracy from Ohio. I like to use my Ford to tow my dogs around. That was what we needed, and Ford, they were on it. They were on it like a mouse to a mousetrap. And then the Ranger, they brought the Ranger back. And you want to know what? These cars could have been crap, which some of them were. I mean, they're not the best mechanically, they're not the best cars, but they're far from the worst. The Ranger, guess what? I don't care if it's bad. The fact that it just says Ranger on it, I don't care if it's just another F-150. Do you know how many people liked that the Ford Ranger was brought back? And sure, the hardcore Ford fans, it will never be as good as the old Ford, but you want to know what will be better than? Nothing. Which is what look at what GM has right now. They have a total shit show. They have 5 brands which aren't selling anything. They have Chevrolet, who's just looking to everyone else. They're trying to copy off the homework of the person next to them, except all the person next to them are going down in flames too. They've got Ford next to them who's doing this and actually winning with the sales numbers, believe it or not, and killing off the F-150 Lightning, which is something that they should have done from day one. And we've got GM sitting in the middle between Ford and Chrysler, and they look at Chrysler. What the fuck do they know? Look at their brand right now. What cars? They have one car. GM, one car. Then that's what they're going to become. I'm convinced of it. So you want to know, good job for Ford. They brought back a historical model. They did it right. Because you want to know what they could have done? There could have been no Bronco Sport. This could have been the Bronco. That's right. The Bronco Sport could have been the Bronco. Think about that for a minute. I bet you're happy that it's called the Bronco Sport now, aren't you? Because they totally could have done that. In fact, it would have saved them making the actual Bronco. I don't think it would have been as accepted as much. Probably would have been an outrage. They didn't have to make the actual Bronco. They did a great job. Moving on. Mini Cooper. Again, fantastic. You want to know the best thing about the Quiet, and you want to know, people argue, they'll say, well, this isn't a mini rebrand. The hell it isn't a mini rebrand. Sure, they didn't do something stupid and dumb. Again, same with Ford, change the logo. That's not what you want to do. I'm calmer now, because, the American companies, they just, it pisses me off. They do. I can't stand them. They're so stupid. But, Mini, they finally did it right. And the best part about this rebrand was that no one knew about it because they did it right. Okay, I shouldn't have to say outrage. Oh, this is crazy. That's not what you want to see from a rebrand. This is how you do it. And you may say, oh, well, that's not a rebrand. They literally redesigned every single one of their cars. That's more than Kia did for the Cayenne car debacle. That's more than Ford did for the entire Bronco. Again, and the reason why I call the Ford Bronco Sport in that entire era of Ford a rebrand, and you may say, well, that's not a rebrand. And I technically kind of agree with you. It's more of a generalized term in the sense that I'm using it. I would just say that because what was Ford before the Bronco? What is Ford now? The Bronco. Think about it. I couldn't tell you what Ford was like. What, the F-150? Give me a break. Mini. Perfect. They offered everything you wanted. The OG street legal go-kart. That's excellent marketing for the 2-door Mini. The 4-door Mini, still sensible. Great handling. They're playing into the parts of a Mini. And here's my favorite thing. The Mini speaks for itself. You don't look at a Mini and go, oh, that's a small car. They could put the original small car on there. No one... Duh. Instead... they lean into things that you wouldn't think about, like the handling, or that it feels faster because it's smaller, or the all-wheel all-star. I think they call this the all-4 now. I'm not in love with that name. But four-wheel drive in a Mini is great, and the fact that it's SUV-like and yet still fits with the entire style of the Mini and fits generally with the range is a great idea. This is how you do a rebrand. All right. I have the flu. I'm very sick. I just gave you a video of car news. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you disagree with me on Ford, what do you want from me here? Okay, there's only so much you can take of your team losing before you're finally happy that they get a win. All right, so with that, also the Toyota EVs. What are they thinking? Can they pull their head out? Can they wake up? I mean, what's the matter with these people? All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I have a fever of 102.2, and that's why I'm not posting.